Keep at least 4 of the following things in mind if you try Inktober or any of the other art challenges out there. The hardest part of an art challenge isn't the physical labor, it's the mental toll that you inflict upon yourself. With that in mind, in order to understand what prevents you from succeeding, it's important to know that there's one foundational duck that you must get in your row before any others can follow. You need to be honest about why you're doing this. And I'll even do you a solid by breaking this why into 3 main choices you can pick from. So, the main reasons to do an art challenge are to A. Have fun, B. Develop your skills, or C. Develop your reputation. And here's where people get it twisted, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you plan to stay mentally fit for a daily art challenge, you have to pick one focus that you put above the rest each day. So, without further ado, let's look at each of these 3 goals in turn and see how we can avoid working against them. Having fun. Having fun is the easiest goal to lose sight of by far, so here's what I'd consider doing if you're truly just messing around. Don't set out to share your work. Whether it's online or among people IRL, knowing that others will see your scribbles is inherently stressful, and it can easily sap the joy from the creation process. I'm not saying that you can't or shouldn't share your work that you're proud of, but if you stop having fun, check in with yourself. Make sure that showing your art to people is a decision that you're truly making in hindsight. If you set out with a subconscious desire to share what you create, you'll dampen your ability to explore and make mistakes. It's fine to hang out in your comfort zone. One of the hardest things to recover from in a daily art challenge is losing momentum. If you had a bad art day yesterday, it's absolutely fine to just do something simple and easy. Hell, it's fine to stay cozy even if everything's going well and you just feel like doing whatever you want. Stop imposing the pressure of progress on yourself. It's fine to draw something you've drawn a million times already, or to use a familiar pose, or to do anything else that you're used to doing. Lower your standards. Maybe it's something foundational like color or perspective, or perhaps you want to try designing something like a creature or a weapon. Whatever it is, be gentle with yourself when it goes sideways, and celebrate that you had the courage to actually try something. If you can embrace the idea that your work will be trash anyways, then there's nothing stopping you from letting loose, experimenting, and just playing around to discover what you like and what you hate about whatever you're trying. Make it bad on purpose. There's actually no rules saying that you've got to put effort into a drawing. Be horrendous with your form and technique. Draw something unserious or downright stupid. Vandalize it. Set it on fire. Sometimes the more disposable you treat the outcome, the less likely you are to overthink it and miss out on a good flow state. The next time you feel like you're putting pressure on yourself, find ways to lower the stakes. Overall, if your primary goal is to have fun, then you have to be emotionally honest with yourself. Learn how to be patient when you're plagued with doubts or facing technical frustrations. Learn how to catch yourself if you're comparing your work to others. Acknowledge when you feel the fear of judgment or a pull towards perfectionism. Even if you hate the final results of your efforts, with the right mindset, you can often salvage the process along the way. Developing your skills. If I'm being real, skill development is my favorite reason to create art. I know that's not super relatable, but it comes in handy while we talk about the pitfalls of trying to level up your quality or style. So, here's what I'd keep in mind if you're trying to improve your skills during an art challenge. Stay out of your comfort zone. Save what you're comfortable with for real work and for casual projects. When the goal you've set for yourself is to improve, working within your comfort zone will yield the slowest progress. Instead, try to find ways to tackle one of your weaknesses, or an area of your work that you feel is mediocre. You don't have to stop yourself from adding elements that come more naturally to you, but try to avoid making those aspects dominate your time. Don't bother making finished pieces. Unless you end up in a good flow state and you're having fun finishing a piece, there's absolutely no reason to render anything you weren't studying. For example, a perspective study can be simple construction lines and just abstract drawing. A color study might just be a crude scribble with blobs of color in it. As long as you gained experience with whatever skill you're working on, you can absolutely call the day a success. don't set out to share your work. We talked about this if you want to have fun, but the premise is even more important here. Do yourself a favor and completely cut away all external pressure and the fear of judgment that comes from it. Again, you can be open to the idea of sharing cool results, but only if you put zero pressure on yourself to actually have anything worth sharing. Get a grip on self-sabotage. Comparing your work to other artists will stall you completely if you let it. So, if your goal is to really develop your skills, then you have to catch yourself when you start comparing your output to other people's. You're practicing. You're getting reps in. If seeing anyone else's artwork makes you feel bad, then please stop consuming it. Block them if you have to. Comparison is a demon that can only bother you if you feed it. Keep your ego in check. I know that I've been casually saying, take chances, make mistakes, and get messy, but anyone who's been around the block knows how difficult it is to put aside your pride when you know what you're capable of. That feeling is you judging yourself for the crime of not producing work for external validation. It's a gut reaction that beckons you back into your comfort zone. Do your best to resist its call. There are tons of other ways you can self-sabotage, so just remember to check in with yourself and see how you feel while you're making art. Sometimes all you need to do is shine a light on a behavior or thought pattern to take away its power, and for everything else, there's the internet, I guess. Focusing on artistic growth can be a lonely experience, but the rewards can be transformative for you if you play your cards right. Hell, you might even have fun while you're at it. Developing your reputation. You may have guessed it, but if your goal is more focused on audience growth, social proof, and career advancement, then we're in a completely different ballgame than anything we've talked about already, so let's get into it. Stay in your comfort zone. When you're working on your reputation, you should absolutely put your best foot forward. Make art that you are naturally drawn to making. Work in your favorite mediums. Depict subjects that are permanently burned into your visual library. The harsh reality is that no one engages with an artist who's posting below their usual skill level. Sure, you may have a dedicated core audience, but it's likely that you'll struggle to bring in new eyes. This doesn't mean that you can't draw new things or explore new concepts, but make sure you have reference on hand, make sketches before you dive into the final, and put your all into getting the fundamentals locked in before you render your piece. Post consistently. If someone follows you during an art challenge, it's because they want to see you do the damn thing. Being inconsistent sends the wrong message to people who are finding your account for the first time. So, plan your month accordingly. Set aside a chunk of time every day that you plan to make something impressive to share. And make sure you build in time to write and upload your posts. My advice is to stick to a reasonable post schedule. If your audience is primed to only expect 1 or 2 art challenge posts a week, they will absolutely not care or look into what your daily results were. Acknowledge that what you're doing is unsustainable. Remember, making art every day is a challenge, not a goal that you should strive to normalize. Plan to take it easy the month after the challenge. You'll have earned a break. During the challenge, keep the scope of each day's project in check. If you set your standards too high early on, you'll wind up disappointing yourself and your audience when you can't maintain that level of complexity. If anything, start simple and work your way towards something that looks great, but still feels achievable. Let's take a closer look at what I mean by complexity, because we've already established that your level of rendering and polish needs to be top-notch. And this is straightforward. Complexity of image, to me, is a sliding scale. On the low end is one very simple object. As we move forward, you might have one object that's quite complex, and on the high end of the scale is a page that's filled with as many complex objects as you can fit on it. And here's the best part. People love both ends of the scale and everything in between. So ideally, you'll be able to produce a small, highly polished piece every day. However, if you end up in a time crunch, or you're having a bad art day, or a bad life day, you can still strive to make your rough work presentable. Consider composition when you're clustering sketches on a page. Tighten up line work or key areas of an otherwise rough drawing. Add a pop of color to unify a page. What you want to show people is the romanticized version of sketching and exploring ideas, not the reality of what lies in your grubby little sketchbook. Comparison will destroy you. We've already talked about this from the lens of skill development, and everything about handling self-sabotage applies here too, but under no circumstances can you get into the comparison game. Do whatever you've got to do to stay cool and mind your own business. As you can see, it's kind of rough out there if you choose to prioritize developing your reputation during an art challenge. But to achieve such a thing would, I imagine, feel incredible. Even if you gain no followers, you'll have created a solid wall of art that lends you credibility for the rest of your life. Or at least until you noticeably improve. Measuring growth. Before we wrap up, let's talk about measuring growth and setting reasonable expectations. Because the real, unbridled truth is that you may gain absolutely nothing, and you may even hate doing it the whole time. If you can't get excited about why you're participating anymore, please put effort into figuring out how to improve your outlook on each day's work. Or alternatively, how to gracefully drop out of the challenge if it comes to that. There's zero moral consideration attached to whether or not you drew lines for 30 days in a row. So just do what you've got to do to take care of yourself. If you're clear about your whys and you want to see the challenge through, there are 3 main strategies you can shoot for. You can stay focused on a single goal all month, you can strategically schedule a daily goal, or you can pick a goal each day depending on how you feel. Literally do whatever you want. I'm not your mom. Just know that having a singular focus all month is hard mode, but it also reaps the largest gains. If you decide against focusing on a single goal all month, you need to understand that your gains will be less exponential and more linear. Don't be greedy with your expectations. Just feel good that you've done a cool art challenge with intentionality. And there you have it, 4 crucial factors that you should think about if your goals are to have fun, develop your skills, or develop your reputation. Like if you liked it and consider subscribing. And good luck with the challenge!